who's going to start off by introducing herself and telling us a little bit about her book.
Hi, I'm Claire. I live in Nottingham, and I'm the author of 2 books, one called Perfect Lie, and the second one, which is here, which is my most recent one, called A Silent Child. They're both police procedural books, and again, they're set in Nottingham and around where I live. It's always good to write what you know, or where you know at least.
When did Perfect Lie come out?
That came out in June last year, and then A Silent Child came out in March this year. The audio for Silent Child came out yesterday, I think, so it's now on Audible. If you've got lots of credits you want to use, can recommend 2 very good books on Audible.
That is one of the questions I'm going to ask, because a lot of our members do actually prefer to read on Audible. So it's good to know that.
Yeah, they're both read by the same author, Helen Keeley, who was absolutely fantastic. I interviewed her today actually on my blog. So it's the same person reading both books, and she's done a really good job actually. The first time when I heard the first line in Perfect Lie back last year, I nearly cried happy tears, because it's like, wow, these are my characters that I've daydreamed about for so long are now here, and someone else's interpretation of them was actually quite funny. Some of the characters, how she interpreted what they'd sound like, was quite amusing, but that was just me randomly.
Did she do a Nottingham?
I don't know, because this is something else my publisher asked. Did she manage to nail the Nottingham accent? And I'm like, I don't know really. What do us Nottingham people sound like? So fingers crossed she did, but I'm not sure.
I suppose it's a bit hard to know what your accent sounds like.
Yeah, so I know there's a character in A Silent Child who's from Iraq, so she did a very good sort of accent with that character. So yeah, she did a very good job. It was like amazing.
I'm trying to think of the way to word questions without giving any spoilers away. There's quite a impactful start to
Yes.
Perfect Lie. How did you deal with writing about a subject that dark to start the book off with?
I think I've been daydreaming about it for a very, very long time. So I had sort of had it all prepared in my head about how it was gonna roll out. The original version of Perfect Lie was going to be about MI5. That she was a former MI5 agent, but I was advised that it really wouldn't work being MI5 because they can't disappear that easily, if that makes sense. So I based it more around local policing. I was advised it'd be easier going forward to base it around local policing and not MI5, and also just create an imaginary unit of policing in London, a bit like, I don't know Line of Duty very well, but a bit like Line of Duty, just a unit that no one's ever heard of, because they could exist out there, if I've explained that badly.
So, what kind of research did you do about the police procedures?
A lot of Googling, to be honest. A lot of Googling. Searching missing persons was proving interesting. But then once I found the right keywords to search, it sort of opened up a lot more information that I was looking for. I've got 2 very good books by Stephen Gibson. Is it Gibbons? Gibson and
Stuart Gibbons.
Yeah, Stuart. That's it. Sorry. By him. One was detectives. I think the detectives handbook came second, but yeah, they're both full of useful information about policing, and I looked up a lot in those, and also heard him talk at Waterstones when we were allowed to have these sort of things about his work. So yeah, there, and lots of endless Google searching.
We've had him on in the group that actually to do like kind of expert talks and things.
He's very good, very interesting, and he's also very helpful as well. He was quite willing to answer any questions. He does have like sort of like a consultancy firm, but then he'll still answer the odd question, police procedural question. I know Callie Taylor, C.L. Taylor, she uses him a lot for her work. So yeah, he's a nice guy, very helpful, very friendly.
Good.
I think the first one's called The Crime Writer's Handbook. Just come to me from nowhere.
Handy. So you were saying before we went live that your husband's a fireman. Would you be tempted to have a bit of like fire-related things in your book because you've got a handy research?
Well, this is it. My plot spoiler. My third book. There's fire in it, and the biggest problem I've had is him going, "That wouldn't happen in real life," and I'm like, "Do you mean it wouldn't happen in real life? I need it to happen in real life. How can we make it happen in real life?" So yeah, that's, and then the fire stuff in A Silent Child. One of his colleagues helped me out quite a bit with things like that, but then also talking to Andrew about his daily job, really. So he's been more difficult about the third book than the second one.
You said you were setting them in Nottingham. I know you went out a little bit to London as well. How did you research the stuff for London? Because obviously both the books have come out in lockdown.
The scene in East Croydon, and around that area, that's actually my nan. My nan used to live in a house at the end of a street next to a yard, so I sort of know that area very, very well from growing up there. So yeah, I know East Croydon very, very well. But then the stuff Shirley Way, I said to my aunt, my mum and dad's side of family are from that direction. So I did ask my auntie about where's posh, nice to live outside of East Croydon. So
nice. What made you decide to get into writing?
I think as a child, I always wanted to write and always did write. I used to write stories that never ended. Because when you're at school, you've only got limited time, and they don't want it to go on for days and days and days. So, and then teenager, I wrote a lot of teenage angst stories, getting back at people. So then, yeah, then I think I took it up more seriously after I was bought a Kindle for a birthday, and started reading books by Mark Edwards, again, Callie Taylor. And I also did a adult education creative writing class, which sort of pulled me into it, really. I was so inspired by Mark and Callie's work, and later Rebecca Bradley and others. So yeah, I inspired by their work and what they did, and sort of went from there. Came back from a creative writing class and put pen to paper.
Nice. We've got some questions coming up on the stream. I'm just going to see who the first one is from. So I'll just put my phone on to check. Jason says, can you tell us what you did before writing?
Well, I work in insurance, so that's really exciting. That's what my day job is. I work in insolvency insurance, so really exciting. I think that's probably it. My degree's in events management as well, which is totally not happening now. Everything's going on. So I think writing's always been a part of my life, but it's only been taken more seriously since my hours were cut at work due to health reasons. And I found myself with time off and how do I fill it? And I started writing adult education and started writing, and it all sort of went downhill from there, or uphill, depending on which way you look at it.
Lucy says, what authors do you really admire?
Mark Edwards, Callie, Callie Taylor, C.L. Taylor. Rebecca Bradley does a series in Nottingham as well, so it was nice to have. I think she, with writing a detective story also set in Nottingham, was quite inspiring as well, because a lot of her books you can actually, they name real places. So you in Nottingham you can go to that place, which is another reason why I wanted to write in Nottingham, because the in Perfect Lie, this scene where they find the body, you can actually go to that place in Long Eaton behind Asda, and the police station is next to Asda, so you can go to all these places exist in real life. So I like that with her writing. You can go and visit these places, and they are real.
When I talk to authors who do that, who have like books set in real places, I always like to ask if they take like photos of some of the locations they've used. So I don't know if you've read Liz Mystery. She writes books set in Bradford, and she's really good when her new ones are coming out of posting sort of photos of the real locations that she's used.
Yeah, I did I think a couple of my promo videos I experimented with this time round, had a shot of where the actual body would have been found in the story. When Perfect Lie was coming out, I took me and my daughter tried to film a film of walking from the police station to where the actual murder scene is, and it was her on her hoverboard with a camera attached to her bike helmet. So that was sort of also put out on Facebook, I think, somewhere. I'm quite happily repost if you want. Was actually when Chris arrives in Perfect Lie, the walk that he would have taken to where the actual murder scene is. But when I was watching the footage back that Melanie recorded, you'd have been sat there for 5 minutes waiting for them to get to the police station to the murder scene. So I sort of gave up on that idea. But yeah, there's a picture of where the body was found in Perfect Lie.
Nice. So you've got some more questions. Someone said, hello, I haven't read any of your books. Why should I take the chance?
Because they're amazing. Oh, I don't know. I'm very good at the sales stuff. I wouldn't say, oh no, they're good. I think I've had quite a lot of good comments and a lot of good feedback, which I've been very taken aback by, not expecting. So I think any book's worth giving a go. Any author, read the first book or read however much you usually give a book, and then decide what you think from there. So hopefully you'll enjoy it, and I'd love to hear your feedback on either of them, and what you liked and what you didn't like. I tell you, the most scariest thing is my big boss at work recently bought a silent child, and I'm dreading his feedback. Also, a couple of the teachers at my daughter's school, they were very supported when I asked them a couple of questions, and I gave him a copy of Perfect Lie, and I'm dreading what he's going to say about it, having a proper teacher who knows what he's talking about reading my novel. So yeah, give it a go. And like me with books, if you get to 50% and you hate it, then life's too short.
I wouldn't necessarily believe that teachers always know what they're talking about.
Primary school teacher, you'd hope. So yeah, I'm quite nervous about his feedback. And also actual police officers, that's really scary. Sending them, asking them what they think of it. So no, most of the feedback's been pretty positive so far.
How did you deal with like the forensics research and things? Did you have someone that you went and talked to for that as well? Because you talked about using Stuart's books.
Not really, no. Again, probably watching a lot of TV, a lot of documentaries, I have recently bought Val McDermott's book on forensics, and they also, this time round, Forensics for Dummies. So yeah, just lots of research, lots of Googling, trying to find the right words to Google.
We've got a good Ask the Expert coming up with Kate Bendelow, who's working at FBI. Have you got any like tricky forensic questions you need? She's a good person to ask. She does like Stuart and consults with authors to help out.
It's always good to have someone to ask for help, please.
Well, she'll be here for an hour in the group, so you could just pop in and ask her any of your questions.
Yeah, because like with the third book, with the whole the third book has a fire investigation in it, and I'm like, well, can someone at the fire station hook me up with someone in fire investigation so I can at least get that bit right of how they investigate fires? So yeah, lots of the fire station love me at the moment. Lots of questions. Because I also, through research and talking to firefighters, I've learned that they can tell petrol, because each brand of petrol, they add something special to the petrol, so that's how it gets traced to where it was bought from. They add additives or stuff like that, and the same with matches. There's each brand of matches has something, a chemical, also at the end, so they can trace it that way. So it's all quite interesting.
Yeah, it sounds it. What's the like most interesting thing you think you found out in your research that you didn't know about?
I think a lot of the fire stuff, it is all good. Andrew coming back and he's like, oh, I've been to this fire at, like I don't know, there was a big fire at Nottingham train station a good couple of years back, and it was quite interesting finding out about the ins and outs of that, as in how it spread, why it spread so much. And I did follow the news, the case quite closely, because just to find out what they were saying, and then I could like say ask a firefighter's opinion. So when I get past that, I want this to happen. Oh no, it's not possible for that to happen in a fire investigation. I think a lot of that is really interesting. I wish that I could get into that sort of stuff myself, but I was never very good at science, and I'm possibly 35 now, and I know they all say it's never too late, but I don't think I can go back and go down that field of direction. I'm not clever enough. I'll stick to writing and insurance.
Anyone can do science.
I'm sorry, I've just seen a message from Lucy Sampson. Yes, I know Kevin Tedds as well. He has a starring role in A Silent Child. Sorry, just jumping in there.
Yeah, Lucy lives in Nottingham, so she'll be really interested. And
yes, our Tedds has a starring role. He was very helpful with The Silent Child.
Lucy also wants to know if you're a plotter or a pantser.
I'm a bit of both. I think when I was writing Perfect Lie and a lot of Silent Child, I was also I'd go to work and have these ideas while I was renewing bonds, which means absolutely nothing to anybody unless you work in insurance. But yeah, and I would always have all these ideas of what to do and what can happen in the book. And then sort of, so since I've been working from home, I'm not getting these ideas anymore, bizarrely. So I'm having to think it through and sort of plot it more. So yeah, and then I know when Perfect Lie, when I was writing Perfect Lie, it was in such a mess because I didn't plot. I just wrote it. So I think I'm a bit of both, a bit of a pantser and a bit of a plotter. I probably should plot more. It might be a lot. I might make life easier for myself if I plotted more, but prefer to pants it, to be honest.
Do you know a lot of authors do this? Peter Robinson said he completely pants it. He just comes up with the first scene and goes from there. And I never understand, and I said this to him as well last night, that it's always people who say that they completely pants writing who have the most complex books.
We make it up as we go along.
Never understand how they keep all the threads separate. It always amazes me.
I can't answer that one.
No, he couldn't either. He was just like, how I do it.
No, I think a lot of my writing's probably daydreaming as well, which is a lot of where Perfect Lie came into it, and also part of A Silent Child is the what if question. What if this boy was asking for someone and no one knew who this person was other than the police detective? And what if someone was leading a double life and no one knew other than, well, her family didn't know, only she knew and her former work colleagues.
TG, who's one of our author members, she writes as TK Gearing, she wants to know which of your characters you take out to dinner.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, because this is a really difficult question, because I know what's coming for Chris. So I'd sort of want to take him out for dinner. I don't know, maybe Max, possibly, and possibly Hannah, just to talk about all the things that they've experienced in the past, because sort of undercover police work's always really interested me, and I used to watch a lot of spooks and things like that. So yeah, learn about what they've experienced in life, the excitement, the exciting cases they've been part of. But then at the same time, I'd like to take Chris out for dinner and tell him that everything's going to be all right. Honestly.
T also wants to know how lockdown affected your writing.
Yeah, this is sort of what I was trying to say earlier. With being at work, this is where I used to get all my ideas. I was at work. I was supposed to be concentrating on one thing, but then, like a lot of authors say, when you're concentrating on something, you get other ideas as well. And I used to write bits at work when I was supposed to be working. Hopefully no one from work is here. So yeah, being the lockdown the first time around, I had both kids at home trying to work my 4 hours and 15 minutes a day and homeschool one that needs help because she was so young, and the other one that still doesn't want to do anything, hates school, hates anything educational. So yeah, my oldest Alex, he was an uphill struggle, whereas Melanie, with her being so young the first time around, she needed a lot of support with stuff. So I think, and then also with working from home, I'm spending the morning on the computer. The last thing I want to do when I put the laptop away is do more writing. So no, I think first off, I was like, oh yeah, I'm really into this. I can write, and this lockdown's great. And then I think the further we've come towards the end, the harder I found it. I was going to submit my third book when A Silent Child came out in March, but that's not happened because I've just not written it. Can't be bothered. And I just think with not going to work and not having that time off, not being at work from my old working pattern, has actually had a knock-on effect on my writing.
I'm just looking at, Lucy's got you another question. She says she used to work for Nottingham Fire Service. Where is it? She says, do you plan to move around Nottingham as you write more books, use different suburbs of the city? What about using Nottingham's caves as a setting?
With the Nottingham cave setting, that was going to be part of this third book. The the big finale of how they got a building to explode was going to be because of the cave system. So yeah, that was sort of a idea I had, but I've kind of moved away from that because I think I was trying to make it more complex than it should have been. See, this is why I get caught up with the fire research, because I try and research too much. I want it to be correct. So yeah, I know in A Silent Child, there is some, I think, I honestly can't remember. There is another suburb that is mentioned. Also, to protect where social services is, that's also in the Lace Market area in the book. So yeah, I have used like the Lace Market area, and Hockley does get mentioned in the third book. So yeah, I think it's good to use different places in Nottingham. Hopefully. And plus I can get on, when everything calms down, I can get in the car and go there, and I can have real places that actually exist in real life, more than I can at the moment relying on Google Maps and where I live.
Would you expand outside of Nottingham then for other books?
I think so, yeah. I'm already in Bakewell gets mentioned in A Silent Child. Can't remember the other places. So yeah, I think so. I think it'll always be Nottinghamshire Police. Yeah.
I'm going to sound very dense here, but I live in Yorkshire, so excuse me for this. Is Bakewell close to Nottingham?
Sorry, Bakewell's in Derbyshire, so yes, sort of close to Nottingham.
I don't know my geography well enough to know where exactly.
No, I don't know where my phone is to find out even how close Bakewell is to Nottingham.
I'm imagining a message from Lucy in the admin chat telling me off my lack of knowledge about Nottingham.
No, Bakewell. I think Bakewell's just outside of Nottingham. Let's
have a look. I know it has a nice a nice tart. She's got another thing about Nottingham as well as Lucy. See, she's giving you ideas here.
Yes.
Forest Rock Cemetery would be good for a dramatic scene. I have no idea. Nottingham Forest, I know about.
Oh no, Nottingham Forest is actually in A Silent Child. So no, I've covered the football ground. covered the football ground already. Okay, well, Bakewell's an hour from where I live, so obviously it is rather close to Nottingham.
Fair enough. So the Forest Rock Cemetery / Rock Cemetery, is that something?
I think I know where she means.
She said it's good for a dramatic scene. You get lots of bikers there when the sun shines, apparently.
34 miles away from Bakewell is 34 miles away from the centre of Nottingham. There we go.
There you go, and see how I learn something new every day.
Yeah, I know the forest recreation. I know of the forest recreation area, because I know there's been it's been on the news, hasn't it, recently, since this whole lockdown's been lifted, with people going there, and they say students going there are not exactly being socially distanced from each other.
You would never believe I'd gone to school in Midlands either, would you? And I don't know anything about Nottingham and Derby. It's terrible. So Sam says, who's been the easiest character to write so far?
Alex and Melanie. which is the two children. So yeah, they're Jen and James's younger children. So no, they've been the easiest to write because they are my real kids, but sort of a different age. In real life, Alex is older than Melanie, but in the book, Melanie's older than Alex for some unknown reason. So no, they've been the easiest to write because I know both of them very well.
Have you incorporated anyone else you know in your books?
See, this is when I was writing Perfect Lie. I wrote almost everybody in Perfect Lie. Their name. I work with someone by the same name, so I work with an Adam, which is why I found Adam Coulthard's. When I heard Adam Coulthard in audio, because Adam is actually my boss. I work with a James. Used to work with a Tim. So yeah, a lot of my main characters have got the same names as people that I work with. I know that one of my colleagues says that she found a lot of the names very familiar and a lot of the lines very familiar because she couldn't see that person in real life saying that was written in the book. So nothing's based on anybody directly, but I've stolen a lot of names from a lot of people I know, and I'm very much struggling now for names because I've used them all up.
I'm probably going to ensure my permanent ban from Nottingham now with like my lack of knowledge and rubbish questions. Have you ever attempted to name someone Robin after the famous?
I could do, couldn't I? Maybe I should write that one down because it's like in the third book, there's a Scottish rock band. I was like Googling Scottish names for Scottish rock bands. So yeah, if anyone wants to throw some names at me, it'd be really helpful, please.
We often have people who do ask that, other authors. Like come in the group and just ask people to donate their names.
Yeah, I know. I've seen authors do competitions before in my book, but I don't really think I'd get enough people entering to be in a competition.
How many people want to be in a book?
So yeah, if anyone wants me to use their first name, I'll be happy to, as long as I don't get into trouble. See, because that's another thing another problem I had with A Silent Child. There's a character in there called Holly Lord, and I actually, who's the social worker in it, and I know Holly Lord. She is a social worker, and the same with Ted's Lucy. Yeah, my publisher was like, "Are you sure they're okay with you using their real names?" I'm like, "Yeah." So they've said it was fine, and I know my boss at work, Adam, he also warned me because of a case that came up where someone used someone else's name about some car centre that went into debt, and same person actually existed in real life, and they got sued. So yeah, publishers are very wary of using real people's names, just in case you say something bad about them. Because like the prison in Perfect Lie, and again in Silent Child, was actually named after a real prison, but I had to change that. Because if you say something bad happens there, then it could reflect badly on them, if you get me. Just go off on a tangent there.
I think Lucy is making a bid to be there. She said, with useful suggestions of where you can write, she says when she was telling about the Rock Cemetery, that's where the cemetery is apparently at the top of the wreck in the city centre.
Now I've walked through there, yeah, because you get to the Arboretum or whatever it is through there. Yeah, that's near where I work in real life, usually.
I think that's where she thought would be good for a dramatic scene.
I'll go and take some photos.
Let's have a look. I'm going to scroll, making sure I don't miss anything. So, because there's quite a few questions here, so I don't want to miss anyone out who's asked one. So someone asked, do you set yourself a daily word target?
No. I should do, but I don't. With struggling to write the current situation I'm in at the moment, I should do, because I might get a lot more done than I actually do. So, because I've always written A to Z, so start at the beginning, end at the end, and that's the whole way that I write. But this time round, I've had to sort of skip about and do different scenes and hope I can glue them together later. So yeah, another author advised me that I should try word count things. It might help.
A question saying, how long did it take to write Perfect Life?
A very long time. I think from when I first started it and then right through to actually getting a proper deal was 3-4 years. So a very, very long time. Whereas I think with your first book, you've got a lifetime to get it written, get it sorted, get it submitted. But when you come to your second book and your third book, you've got a deadline. So yeah, A Silent Child was written a lot quicker than Perfect Lie. And the third book probably will be written a lot quicker than, well, probably not, but A Silent Child and most definitely Perfect Lie.
Both T and Lucy have asked about your hobbies and interests outside of writing.
I've started doing sewing at the moment. Been doing some sewing. I always answer this question with sleep, actually, when everyone asks me what my hobbies are, what I enjoy doing. My kids got a Nintendo Switch for Christmas, and with my first paycheck from my publisher, I bought a computer game, which is basically Theme Hospital 2.0. So I now spend most of my evenings, instead of writing, playing Theme Hospital once the kids are in bed. So there's that, sewing, sleeping, work. Nothing exciting really. I was had a big thing with Park Run, when that was running, when that was happening over a year ago. So when Park Run stopped and we went into lockdown, I was like, right, I'm going to keep up running once a week, because with any exercise, if you stop it, when you start it again, you're going to ache like nothing. So I was running once a week with my dog around the park twice. So I suppose park running, that's started up for kids now as well. So that's probably going to be more and more of a interest again. Why on earth I get out of bed early in the morning to go running, I will never know. That's why my husband doesn't want to do it. Who gets out of bed to go running? Clearly I do, but don't know how I'm going to manage it for 9 o'clock in the morning when it starts up again, but we'll see.
I'm smiling at you because when I can wrestle the Switch off of my husband, I have Theme Hospital 2.0.
It's brilliant, isn't it? I was like, oh, great. It's like, wow.
I'm stuck on one at the moment. So I've restarted it about 4 times.
I was like, when the update came, sorry, anybody that is actually interested in writing and not Theme Hospital, but when the update came out, I was like, well, I think I should buy it. I should buy the add-on because I don't treat myself to anything these days. I should get the update. I've only had this thing since Christmas, but hey, let's spend more money and get the update. But no, we can talk Theme Hospital. I'll help you out at whichever level you're stuck on.
Well, we could do it after the chat. Lucy said, do you write in silence or listen to music?
A bit of both. I'm a very big fan of Jimmy Eat World, and they're credited in both books. So a lot of listening to them. A lot. I sort of, with working from home and the kids now being at school, I've been having the radio on during the day, because just the silence and the ticking of the clock and the dog moaning is really quite boring. So I'm moving away from working in silence because I notice things like the ticking of the clock. But no, a lot of my writing's done to Jimmy Eat World. Lots of my editing was done with A Silent Child for Jimmy Eat World. Quite sad, really, but
I would be tempted to sort of put a if you've credited them as well, would you ever be tempted to sort of say this is like the playlist that I've listened to while I've been making this book? Because some authors do that.
Yeah, because I know with I did sort of think about that with well, like you said, some authors do that. There's a song by Katy Perry that would have gone in with Perfect Lie. So yeah, and then there's a song by some male artist that goes in with the end of book 3. So yeah, and then there's a couple of lines in a couple of book, like in Perfect Lie. Lincoln Park gets referred to, and sorry, Chester Bennington's passing. So that there's pop culture references through my books. Aunt Middleton gets mentioned in A Silent Child. So yeah.
Sam's asked, what did you learn from writing a silent... Oh, I think she means it the other way round. What did you learn from writing The Perfect Lie that helped you writing A Silent Child? She sort of said that in reverse, but I think she meant first book to second.
I'd like to say my grammar got better, but I think my editor might disagree. I think I learned with The Perfect Lie, it was originally written in different POVs. So Chris's point of view, Jen's, and a bit of James's. So when I wrote A Silent Child and I first got it back from my editor, she said there was a lot of head hopping in the original version of Silent Child. It was a bit all over the place. So I think I've learned that my thing is to write in different POVs. So it's written in Chris's point of view, and it's Jen's point of view, and Hannah's point of view. I think that's how I write best. So that's one thing I've learned between the two. Grammar, hopefully. I'm hoping my editor's going to be well impressed when she gets book 3, because of all the tips I've asked for for when I get to self-editing, but I won't hold my breath. Yeah.
Does Jen come back in Silent Child?
Yes. She's going to be a prominent character. One of the main characters all the way through. Hannah's back in A Silent Child, and Max. All of Chris's team, James. So yeah, every more or less everybody's back in Perfect Lie, not A Silent Child, from Perfect Lie, and then the same moving on to the 3rd book.
How many books do you intend there to be in that series?
Well, I'm contracted to 3, but I do this really bad thing of, when I'm writing book 1, I had the idea for book 2. When I was writing book 2, I had the idea for book 3, and now I'm supposed to be writing book 3. I'm thinking about book 4. So I think for as long as my publisher will have me, it'll go on forever and ever and ever.
Who is your publisher?
I'm with Chocolate. Part of, they've got an imprint called Ruby Fiction. So yeah, I'm with them. They're brilliant. They're a small independent publisher. They're not one of the big players, which I like, because I'm not waiting for years once I submit my book for it actually to come out. I know a lot of the big authors write a book and then it can be years before you actually get it on the shelves. Whereas with a small independent publisher, it seems to come through. You can get your books out there quicker, but they haven't got the bigger reach as the bigger publishers. So yeah, because like for example, I submitted A Silent Child when A Perfect Lie got published in June last year. So, and then that came out in March. So I don't get left waiting forever for something to happen, for that excitement of publication and that excitement of the cover and the title. And I would say the excitement of the edits, but no.
Did you come up with the covers and titles?
No. No. A Perfect Lie was called many things. New Beginnings, A Secret's Between Us. My titles were apparently too romantic, not quite suitable. And then when it came to A Silent Child, I just ended up with song titles. A Silent Child was supposed to be called A Semi-Charmed Kind of Life, and that's by a band called Third Eye Blind. So no, the publisher seems to think, well, it doesn't seem to think, they know the market, they know what sells, they know how titles work. So I think by the time when I get to writing book 4, I'm just going to submit it called book 4. So then they've got free reign of whatever they want to call it. But one of the good things about Chocolate is they have a panel of readers, so nothing gets out to you guys unless it's been passed through the panel of readers, so the panel of crime fans. So when I submit my book, it then goes to the panel and they give their feedback, and if they're happy with it, it will progress forward, the same as when you're submitting. So it's not read by the publisher, it's read by people that would actually want to read your book when it gets that far. So yeah, they all had a say on the title, and they also had a say on the cover, which I love for Perfect Lie. I think I really like the cover for that.
Sam says that she's read that you enjoy lots of crime TV shows. Do you have a favourite that's inspired you?
Yeah. I think, well, growing up, being allowed to watch The Bill, which I keep seeing is coming back, but I worry they're going to make it too good, too high production value than what it used to be. So yeah, The Bill, Spooks, as I said. I have problems with TV these days that I can't actually concentrate long enough to watch it. I lose interest very quickly. So I'm not really, like I said earlier, I don't watch Line of Duty. A lot of the modern crime programs don't seem to, I don't know, interest me, keep my attention, but that's probably more me than them. I think I tend to watch a lot more crime documentaries these days. Like there's a couple that ITV have done recently, which have been dramas but been based on real crimes. I can't. Nielsen was his name, the one that killed for company. That was one recently. He was a guy that would kill and disembowel gay people. I'm trying to think what that one was called. And then there was the one about the son that killed his family, and then tried to blame it on his slightly unhinged sister. No, I honestly can't remember what they were now, but they were good. Was it Des Nielsen or something like that? Killing for Company.
I'd have to help you out. I don't have a TV license, so
good plan. You're not missing much.
I don't. If it was on Netflix, maybe. But
yeah.
Apart from that, I'm not very good at. But I don't watch Line of Duty either.
Oh, there you go, Dennis Nielsen.
There you go. See, Sam knows.
I can't remember the other one, but never mind.
Sam always knows. She keeps us all in order. She's boss of the author chat stuff, really. She says I am, but
well, this is it. If you say she is and she says you are, then no one will ever know who the actual boss is.
Well, she bought me a mug saying I was, but she's the organised one. Sam says, do you have a favourite book of the year in 2020? So I have this phrase that I call shut up and take my money authors, you know, like the people that you will just buy, hands down, their names on the book.
Yeah.
That's it. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to know anything more.
Yeah.
Joe Hill's one of mine, for instance. he's Stephen King's son. If he's got a book out, I don't even care. It's in the basket and gone. Do you know what I mean? So who are yours?
Again, Mark Edwards, Callie Taylor, Louise Jensen. Trying to think who's on my bookshelf. But my standout book from last year was 3 Hours by Rosamund Lupton, I think. The one about the school siege. So no, that was my most favourite book of 2020. Matt, I could never say his surname. Matt Wazowski or something. Oh, sorry. So he's an all-rounder author who does the 6 series podcast books. I love his work.
You've heard it here first, but I'm fairly sure we've got him booked for our Spook Fest in Halloween.
Ooh. No, his books have been really good. Really. So I was lucky enough to get Deity. How do you say that one? Sorry, in advance. So I see. What I like about his books is lots of I wouldn't say like mine, pop culture references. I don't know if you've read Deity, but what happens in never mind then. Can be tracked. What happens in that is there's a lot of pop culture things that have actually happened in real life are sort of reflected in that book, but I will just be quiet on that one because I don't know what I'm talking about. I probably don't know what I'm talking about, but
no, but I like that. I get what you're saying, and it's a good thing. My favourite book of 2020 was Pine by Francine Toon.
Mm-hmm.
It won the McIlvenney Prize in bloody Scotland, and it was a bit of a controversial one. Some people find it a bit too slow of a burn of a read, if you know what I mean. But I love it. It's like gothic and atmospheric and lovely. And I am a fan of a pop culture reference or a song. A song title as a book title. You see, I would have been totally behind that. One of my favourite authors of all time, the first book I bought of his is named after a song by one of my favourite bands. And that is one of the reasons why I bought it. Maybe I should start working through Jimmy Eat World's back catalogue. Maybe you should, because there are other fans that like him, and they'd be like going, "Oh, look, they've named that after a Jimmy Eat World song. I'm going to buy that." Yeah, but a better write one called The Middle, and then I'd be rolling in money. But then that's moving on. They have some good titles there. I'm thinking there's the one. Is it like it's got the Salt Sweat? Yeah, Salt Sweat Sugar. They used to be called Bleed America. Yeah, that'd be a good title for a crime novel. See? Yeah, you're on a winner. It's a shame the publisher doesn't agree. Someone's asked, when you write, do you keep ideas in notebooks or on a computer or in your head? I've always had a notebook in my bag. So yeah, I did a lot of notebooking when I was not working from home, being out at work. So coming up with ideas at work, I'd scribble them in a notebook. I do use OneNote now just to keep track of what my characters are doing. So yeah, OneNote, notebooks, but not as much now. I did have Post-it stuck to the wall in our middle room of things which I've transferred into a notebook. So yeah, I'm all for notebooks, pretty notebooks especially. Go in the works. See, this is another thing. We're not working in Nottingham at the moment. I can't go in the works and stare at notebooks and end up accidentally buying them. So, do you have a new notebook for each book? Yes, but then there's always some crossover because, as I was saying earlier, I have a really bad habit of thinking about book 4 when I'm writing book 3, etc., etc. So, yeah, I also have a box file with everything. I keep everything. And then when it's all over and all sorted, it goes into the box file of the notebook and any bits of paper
etc. go into the box file and into storage. But then I think I'm used to that with uni. When I wrote my dissertation, we were all told, "Oh, you have to keep everything for X amount of years, just in case there's an issue with your work." So when the whole publishing thing took off, I was like, right, I need to keep everything just in case there's an issue. X amount of years, a bit random, but yeah.
I found my dissertation the other day, and it still has all of the data from my research on a floppy disk. That's how old I am. I've just dated myself.
No, it's like my husband was sorting out recently. He was finding CDs that's got Claire University Year 1 and all these CDs with my work on, because we were told to back everything up, and especially when it came to dissertations, to keep absolutely everything.
Well, I did floppy disks, so there you go. Sam said she's got loads of notebooks that are too nice to write in, so I think she's with you on the pretty notebook thing.
Yeah, my current notebook's got panda bears on, but then that was one from the works.
Mine are plain, but I've got dinosaur stickers on that I added. I've got a bit of a dinosaur thing going on. Don't know if you've seen my T-Rex skull.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you what, my first notebook said I'd rather be asleep on the front of it, so that pretty much sums me up anyway. So that had everything in, all my notebooks for Perfect Lie, all my stuff for that in.
Nice. So we are coming up to the end of our chat. We've got 4 minutes left. So one of the questions we ask a lot of our authors is, do you sell signed copies? So if someone wanted to buy a signed copy, could they contact you and buy one?
Yes. Perfect Lie, you can get it on print on demand via Amazon at the moment, but it will be in trade paperback in July, so I will have some around July time that I will be selling on, if anybody wants one. It's really weird, it's like when I signed my first book, I was a bit like, am I supposed to do it in pencil first? You know how when you were a kid and writing cards, you always have to write it in pencil first and then go over it in pen, just in case you made a mistake. So no. Yeah, I July time I'll have some signed ones if anybody wants a signed copy of Perfect Lie. I'm not quite sure when A Silent Child will go, if and when that will go to trade press, but fingers crossed.
So before I ask you to recap your book, I'm going to read you the comment from Sam that's just come on. She says, thank you so much for a great interview. And Callie Taylor has a new notebook for each book with the title printed on it. That's commitment to a title early on. I like it.
Yeah.
Do you think she puts a post-it note over if she changes the title?
Well, this is it. This is it.
Do you want to remind us, before we finish and sign off, do you want to just remind us a little bit about Perfect Lie and Silent Child?
Okay, so Perfect Lie is set in Long Eaton, which is where I live. It's a police procedural, and then there's a lot of it's Nottinghamshire police. Yeah, and the family live in Long Eaton, so Jen and James and the kids, Melanie and Alex that I mentioned earlier. And then there's also some in London, East Croydon, that I know very, very well. And then A Silent Child is a follow-up to A Perfect Lie. A lot of people have said to read A Perfect Lie first, because there's a lot of references in A Silent Child that you won't get or not get, I don't know, make more sense, that's it, if you've read A Perfect Lie. So A Silent Child is a book where a body appears in the River Trent, and the police investigation is who's the body and why is she in the Trent. And at the same time, a boy is found walking around Nottingham asking for Lisa Carter, but nobody knows who Lisa Carter is. So yeah, the Silent Child is the story of the body, who the body was in the Trent, and how she came in the Trent or got to the Trent, and then also who is. If you read Perfect Lie, you'll know who Lisa Carter is, and A Silent Child is more who is the child, what's he been through, and then he sort of disappears, and then it's kind of trying to find the child and what's happened to him, and then it all goes a bit dark, if that's the right word, from there, as they try and find where he is and what he's experiencing and how he's ended up in the situation he's found himself in. Hopefully I've explained those and made sure everybody want to go out and buy them. But no, they're both police procedurals. They're both set in Nottingham and London, and they're really good, and you should buy them. And I'd love to hear anybody's feedback on them, but be gentle with me, and I'll let you know what the primary school teacher says.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you too for having me. It's been fun. Though nervous I was